Hello and welcome back to autumn. Today is the 12th of October, so it's almost 1 week since I filmed my last video where I was out in Perthshire trying to photograph the autumn colours. If you never saw it, I managed to not capture your stereotypical autumn shots because the leaves hadn't really turned at all. But what I did manage to capture was some abstract shots incorporating lovely reflections and the subtle yellow colours that were starting to appear. And we now find ourselves a week later, as I say, and as you can probably tell, potentially, the leaves are starting to turn a little bit more now. We've got a little bit more of the yellows appearing, but we're still nowhere near peak autumn. There's still a lot of trees that remain green. But one thing that has changed colour this week is the ferns. In fact, some of them are pretty much past optimum and some of them are only just turning, but they are one of the only parts of the woodland today where there is a real flourish of colour. So my plan for the next half an hour or so is to try and capture some of these ferns in all of their glory. But not just to capture them as they are. I'm going to both do that, but I'm also going to do some more ICM, trying to make the most of these autumnal colours and see what I can create. So again, a bit like last week's video, I'm having to adapt to the lack of autumn colours, but incorporate what has changed into my images to try and get those lovely autumnal colours within my shots. I am really enjoying this. Do you know, I only started doing ICM, I don't know, 5 months ago. And I'm just finding that it's opening my eyes up to a completely new world of photography. You know, for years now I've been doing mostly landscapes and seascapes. It's a type of photography that I love because it allows me to connect deeply with the landscape and nature. But I kind of find, you know, once you've been doing a style of photography for many years, you don't get bored of it, but you always want to look for a way of expressing your creativity differently. And I never thought I would get hooked to ICM. I just thought, it's a bit of a strange type of photography. It looks more like painting than photography in many respects. But when you actually start doing it, I find it so addictive because I never know what my images are going to turn out like. And these images that I'm just taking just now of the bracken are proving that massively. Basically, like, what I'm trying to do is move with the curvature of the bracken. So because they've got the nice kind of feathery leaves, I'm trying to move my camera in the direction of the leaves to try and create those lines within my photographs. And then when you've got a number of them together and you've got the stems going up, I'm trying to pan my camera up and down to get those stems and the bracken themselves pulled up through the image. And it's creating some really interesting results because you've not got the exact defined lines that you maybe do when I've done like my coastal ICM. The results are just, I've no idea what the images are going to turn out like, and I'm finding that so exciting and rewarding to express this style of creative photography in a new way with a new subject matter. And when you couple it with something like the autumn colours, it just brings a whole new meaning to your images. And this is definitely something I'm going to be doing more of moving forward, is using the natural tones of the earth and of nature to create artistic images that are so unique that nobody will ever be able to replicate these. And it is so exciting. And I have to say, while I enjoy landscape photography, and I'll continue to do it, I think my days as a landscape photographer may be over, and I'm definitely branching out to be something a little bit different, and I'm finding that so exciting. Another thing I think that's so good about ICM is that it opens your eyes up more to nature. You find yourself looking so much more deeply at what's going on around you and the intricate parts of nature. So a little bit like macro photography, where you concentrate on those small aspects of nature that most people walk by. The good thing with ICM is because you're looking for lines and textures and patterns, and you're then moving your camera around to create something different, you're much more aware, again, of the smaller aspects of nature, like the ferns and the shapes of them and the textures and the colours and the speckles on them and what you can then create in an image. I just find that so mind-blowing. And that's another reason why I think I'll be doing a lot more of this moving forwards than landscapes, because what I'm noticing in nature and the amazing elements that are becoming available to me, it's just, as I say, mind-blowing to be able to make images out of landscapes where you're not really seeing your stereotypical landscape shots, but where you're not really seeing anything of interest. You can create interest by using your camera as a paintbrush, and I love that. So I've now walked along to this beautiful part of the woodland here. There's still not much colour in the trees themselves, but again we've got the bracken. Because we're in the woodland now, this bracken's not as exposed to the elements as the bracken that I've just been photographing, but we've still got some of those orangey yellow colours. And again, I'm going to do some ICM here, because with the lines of the tree trunks, and when you pan up and down, it allows you to really pull those trees up and get really interesting lines in your images. Then if I couple that with some of the colourful bracken, it might add some interesting colour and tones to the image too. So that's my plan here. Not much of interest, as I say, in terms of the trees, but again, utilising what we do have and capturing something creative that I can be reasonably happy with. So let's see what I can create. I've just taken an image that I am really happy with. Now, it's still sticking with the ICM dynamic, but I've managed to retain enough detail in this image so you can really see what I was photographing. So most of the images you've seen already today are very blurred, and you've got that kind of watercolour, abstract, blurred effect within the image, which I really like. But this image here, I was photographing some beautiful bracketed fungi, which is just on the tree there behind me. And while photographing this, I was able to use a shutter speed and a motion just enough, like I say, to retain the detail in the shot. So you as the viewer can still see that it's bracketed fungi, but you've still got that ICM lovely blurred effect to give it that uniqueness and that creativity. And that image, I think, stood out to me out of all the ones I've taken so far today, because, like I say, you can still tell what the subject is, but it's giving you that unique element. And I really like it. It just, when it flagged up on the back of my screen, I was just like, wow, that is different. And I just wanted to speak about it because it's allowing one of the most beautiful things I think about autumn, apart from the leaves of course, the fungi, and how I've been able to make that into something creative. So I hope you like this image. I've now walked to another part of the woodland that's quite similar to where I was in the last speaking bit, but the trees here are a little bit bigger and they're also a lot darker. The bark here is much, much darker. I don't know if it's a different species of tree or if it's the way that the rain's been falling, but this bark here is very dark and it's very wet as well. But the bracken here isn't as coloured. There's still a lot of green bracken in this part of the woodland. But the light here, coupled with that much darker brown, earthy colour on the bark, is giving a slightly different effect, slightly different tones and different colours in the image. And within this woodland, there's a few birch trees that have changed colour and they've got that slight yellowy golden colour as well. So again, sticking with the ICM effect, doing my up and down pans and being able to draw those trunks up here as well, but coupling them with little pockets of golden light within the image too, which is just adding something to the image, which I really, really like. So it's quite good actually. What I'm finding today is while I'm walking around this woodland, it's got so much diversity in trees, and some areas are very dense and compact with trees and some areas are much more open, and the bracken and the ferns and everything within this woodland are very much at different stages of changing. So as you're walking around, you're finding certain parts of the woodland are much more colourful than others and other parts have yet to turn. But by doing that, you're uncovering different tones and different colours within your images. So although they're all quite similar in nature, it's almost like a painter would go and mix different colours together to make their colours brighter or darker. Here I'm walking around the woodland and finding different areas of the woodland, different pockets of colour and different tree species, to be able to create those different tones and colours and create something different within my images. That's something that this ICM technique has definitely taught me, is about walking around and uncovering those different tones within nature. And as I said earlier, it is just blowing my mind. Well, that's the end of another vlog. I am definitely branching out with my photography, no pun intended. But today has just been so much fun. It's further opened my eyes up to this beautiful creative world of ICM. And I'm finding, especially the last month or so, the more I'm going out and doing photography, the less I'm doing your stereotypical landscape photography and the more I'm delving into much more abstract, fine art, smaller details of nature and using my camera as a paintbrush. And I am just loving the effects it is creating. And as I say, for years I thought ICM would never be something I'd be interested in. I used to look at a lot of them and think, oh, that's a weird style of photography. But as I'm adapting and evolving, I'm starting to absolutely love it. So if you're somebody who doesn't really like ICM or you think it's a bit of a strange style of photography, next time you're on location and you're struggling to get landscape images, try something like ICM or try and look for more abstract style images, because you are much more likely to go home with images that you can be reasonably happy with if you're chasing the lights and that light isn't happening. And I think that's why I'm loving it so much. Every single shoot I have done ICM on, I have gone home with at least 2 images that I've been happy with, whereas the same can't be said for landscape photography. So this video title has probably got a little bit of clickbait in it, but I am definitely moving further away from your stereotypical landscape photography and more into something more creative. And it's definitely something that I would encourage you all to do. Find your voice with your camera. And what you find interesting and what you enjoy is going to be different for everybody. But if you can get creative and increase your enjoyment when you're out with your camera, take that chance, see what you can create. And you never know what direction your photography will go in as a result. As always, I want to say a huge thank you for watching, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you all again next time.